Water. Life itself in every drop. Every day in some use or form we ingest it. From every tap, fountain, head, well, we take. Without ever thinking. What is water? Is it the rivers running down the side of snow-covered mountains? Well, yes. Sometimes it is. But if it's coming out of your tap, it's most likely a mixture of things. One of these things goes by the name of hydrofluorosilicic acid, or as most people know it as, water fluoridation. Has there been any public concern that's come to you about water fluoridation?
Well, there is a group of activists who have come forward, both to me and to the Board of Health, and voiced their concern. We have reviewed the literature. We've reviewed the available, credible scientific evidence. We've looked at it. This issue is discussed nationally and internationally, so it's not just a local issue, it's an international issue. There's a lot of research done on this issue. It's probably the most researched topic in the industry. And from the evidence that we have, it does not support their concerns.
And what kind of evidence do you have that supports water fluoridation?
Well, we've been doing 60-odd. The water in Toronto has been adjusted. The fluoride level in the water in Toronto has been adjusted since 1963. So we have, the whole experience looking at the population, looking at what is happening, and we see a tremendous improvement in the health of the children in the schools. We have children now who are caries-free. I mean, I can speak about even my son's health. He's 25 years old, never had a cavity. And his friends, who are very healthy, young men, athletes, one of them is playing for one of the professional teams, healthy, never had a cavity. So it speaks to the improvement in the oral health of the population, and it's not just young people, it's also the seniors. We're seeing more seniors retiring with all their teeth in good health. I think that speaks to the benefit of water fluoridation.
You said fluoride comes out of water naturally, but you also have an additive that goes into the water that you add more fluoride to it. Yeah. Where do you get that extra fluoride from?
Well, that fluoride is purchased by Toronto Water, and it's purchased from a company who manufactures the hydrofluorosilicic acid, and but it has to meet very stringent standards. Any additive to our drinking water has to meet very, very stringent standards, and the hydrofluorosilicic acid is no different than any of the other additives. So, it's a byproduct of the phosphate industry, so we make sure that it's healthy and it's safe. That's our role in Toronto Public Health.
Dr. David Kennedy, preventive dentist from San Diego for more than 20 years, comes from a long line of dentists. Dr. Kennedy gave some interesting information.
What makes fluoride in the water a problem? Yep. And the problem is the amount of fluoride everybody gets is way above the level that's known to cause harm. And there's no benefit to swallowing fluoride. So there is no reason to put it in the water. We had 10 scientists sit down and say, well, what dose do you recommend for an infant?
Yeah.
They would say, oh, infants shouldn't be exposed to any of it.
Yeah.
Then why is it in the water? Aren't people going to give the baby a bath in the water? Aren't they going to make a formula up with the water? Aren't there 1,000 things the kids do in the water? Don't they go swimming? It took 60 years to get to the point where they admitted that it did harm an infant. Well, it doesn't just harm an infant. It harms everybody, but it does it disproportionately. So it harms the infant faster and more thoroughly than it does a big giant football player, and that's because of the size of the bone. Is that if you've got lots of bone, then there's plenty of places to park the fluoride, and you don't get crippled to your 40, 50, 60. Whereas the infant, the they're vulnerable because of their growing real rapidly, and fluoride inhibits every enzyme known to mankind. That's how they now allege that it works beneficially. They allege that it inhibits the ability of the bacteria on the tooth to be able to breathe. Well, if it does that on the scum on your teeth, what happens if you swallow it?
I drink the water in Toronto. I mean, you need to know that. So I wouldn't be here putting something in the water that's going to affect my health negatively. The people in Toronto Public Health, in fact, in the city, we have a policy that you shouldn't have bottled water in our meetings, etc. So we drink the water. So why would we do something that would harm us? No. It is safe, it is effective, and we make sure that the process for producing, certifying the product, that it is suitable for addition to the water, and the process for adding it to the water is controlled, and it's monitored, and it's safe.
Posted in April 2011 on the Toronto Public Health website, the Board of Health has unanimously reaffirmed its commitment to the continued fluoridation of Toronto drinking water at its monthly meeting on April 4th, 2011. Toronto Public Health Board has yet to answer our question of who sits on this board. The fact sheet for Toronto Public Health says, fluoride in drinking water has been proven to significantly reduce cavities and dental decay.
Why do 41% of the kids have funny looking spotted teeth? Because it inhibited the enzyme making the teeth. Well, you got to be an idiot to think you can give a kid a poison so he ends up with spotted teeth, and that's the only organ that was damaged. I mean, how did that magic just go to the teeth? Was it, if you take an x-ray of the bone is different?
Yeah.
If you measure the thyroid is suppressed. In many cases, if you look at what's happening in Canada and the United States and other places, that people such as myself and others who are concerned about the survival of our nation, it's really what it's about. It's got nothing to do with the water supply. It has to do with whether or not our country prospers. If you don't take care of the most important asset in your country, and that's the children, you no longer prosper in the world.
Is water fluoridation dangerous?
At the level at which the water is fluoridated in Toronto, because you have to remember that fluoride occurs naturally in the water, and all we have done is adjusted the level of fluoride in the water to maximize the health benefit. It is not a problem. It's not a health problem. It's not toxic.
This is what it says on the safety data sheet given to every customer who purchases hydrofluorosilicic acid from Solvay Chemical Company in Florida. If the product contaminates rivers and lakes or draining, inform respective authorities. Also on the data sheet includes a list of symptoms: nausea, bloody vomiting, abdominal pain, diarrhea, cough, and severe shortness of breath. Reacts violently to water.
To me, there's a lack of integrity in the dental profession, because if you were a dentist out promoting fluoridation, say, yeah, rah, it's really good, we should put this hydrofluorosilicic acid, let's call it what it is. It's not fluoride, it's hydrofluorosilicic acid. Fluoride and sand. And it comes from the phosphate-fertilizer mining industry. It's contaminated with arsenic, lead, cadmium, and it's a very strange molecule that sucks lead into the bodies of children. That's nicely proven with over 450,000 children and a rat study showing exactly the same thing. So we're not putting fluoride in the water. We're putting hydrofluorosilicic acid in the water. And that's a totally different animal, and they will not discuss it. And they don't even want to know how to say it. They're not evil people. They're just bureaucrats. I mean, when was the last time you heard a bureaucrat, discover, lightning or something? It's no Steve Jobs there.
Yeah.
It's not going to happen. And the instructions to dentists is specifically to avoid, debates and open discussion. Well, if we were talking about nutrition, would you say, oh, no, just go talk to the American Dairy Association. Don't talk to anybody else. Just talk to the Dairy Association. Milk is real good. Yeah. Well, what if you're a Native American and you're lactose intolerant? What if you're from China or you're Jewish and you're lactose intolerant? Maybe it's not good for everybody. Yeah. And we need to have a discussion about that. That's called an intelligent approach to decision making. What we have here now is a PR approach to decision making, where they come in and they give them money ahead of time So the doors open when they arrive. They lobby using the heartstrings, saying, oh, the children, they need their fluoride in order to prevent terrible teeth. They show pictures of babies that have what's called baby bottle syndrome, where the mother's putting to bed with either Pepsi-Cola or milk, and some mothers put a tablespoon of sugar in the milk to make it taste real good. Mm-hmm. And it rots their little teeth right out of their head. Yeah. And fluoride has no effect on that. There's studies of that showing that fluoride has no effect. They show this devastating illness and then claim that fluoride will have an effect. Well, you know, if you were a decision maker, say for instance, your job is to manage the $100 million budget in your city, and they're wanting you to take 2 or 3 million out and spend on stuff from China to put in the water supply, and it's going to supposedly prevent something horrible from happening to the children. You'd say, well, I know that you've said that. What kind of research have you got on communities that fluoridate the amount of baby bottle tooth decay versus communities that do not? Oh, don't go there. We know it's beneficial. Oh, don't look at the science. So when they try to tell you not to look at the science, do you think maybe there might be something they don't want you to see? And if you do look at the science, you'll find that there's no difference in baby bottle tooth decay, regardless of the amount of fluoride in the water supply.
The amount of fluoride in the water, and then in terms of the health of children that it affects, is there a dangerous amount of fluoride?
Well, like any other substance in our environment, you can have dangerous amount. But like I said earlier, the amount of fluoride that is used to adjust the level of fluoride in our drinking water is safe. And if you look at the Health Canada is the one who determines what are the safe levels, what are the maximum allowable concentration, and we are well within that limit.
What they talk about is they try to call some level in water a dose, and it's not. A level in water is a concentration. Dose is always weight for weight, so it's so many milligrams per kilogram. Okay. So if you had water that's 1 part per million, that means there's 1 milligram in a liter of water. So if a baby weighs 4 kilograms and drinks a liter of water a day, the dose to that baby is 1 divided by 4, which is the same as a quarter, 0.25. Yeah. Okay, well, the level that the EPA says will harm you, it would be written like 6 cents, 0.06. Mm-hmm. That's the minimum risk level. The level that a baby's getting is a 0.25 so at their alleged optimal level. Like, gee, what drug do you know you should give the baby 400% more than is known to cause harm? Well, wait a minute. I'm going to send you a copy of the National Academies of Science Review of Fluoride, and direct your attention to Chapter 8, Table 2, okay, and look for an iodine-deficient infant. Get a penny. 0.01 will harm that baby. So you're going to give that baby 25 cents worth of fluoride when a penny's worth is going to harm it? It falls apart.
The amount of water that someone would have to consume before it was dangerous with fluoride, is there any kind of level? Is there any amount of water that you would have to drink before it became dangerous?
Well, we've done that calculation actually, and it's interesting. I mean, of course, toxicity depends on the concentration of the substance and the weight of the person who is ingesting that substance. But for an average male, at the level that the water is fluoridated in Toronto, they would have to drink continuously, not just 1 bathtub every day, mm-hmm, but 28 bathtubs of water before it would get to a lethal dose.
And that's an average size male, but what about a smaller person?
A smaller person, then you're talking about, of course, maybe, 60 glasses of water continuously, before it gets to a toxic level.
There's a study from Puerto Rico, the name of the author is Lopez, and she got tired of seeing these babies coming in with rotted teeth, and so she divided into 3 or 4 groups, and she gave one, regular water, dabbed their teeth once every 2 months, so 6 times a year, dab, come back. She used 2 levels of fluoride and povidone iodine. Povidone iodine reduced the tooth decay 50%. None of the fluoride compounds had any difference between that and the control. And that The fluoride in tooth decay is a total scam. It's got nothing to do. Why did the iodine reduce the tooth decay? Because iodine is antiseptic. Tooth decay is germs that live in your mouth and rot your teeth. So if you kill them, you stop it. Fluoride doesn't kill them. It just makes them choke. It inhibits their ability to breathe. So when the fluoride washes away with your saliva and you swallow it, it goes on down into your system and makes the other cells in your body begin to choke. But the tooth decay on your gum, on your teeth starts rotting again. So it only lasts for 10 or 15, 20 minutes. Yeah. Well, you know, why don't we just kill them?
Since fluoride in the water is consumed into your body and it doesn't really stay on your teeth, is there any real purpose for it going into your body?
Yes, there is a real purpose for ingesting fluoride. The way fluoride it improves oral health, there's several different ways. One is it has a topical effect. So when you use toothpaste, the fluoride in the toothpaste has a topical effect on areas of demineralization of the enamel on the tooth. When you go to the dentist and the dentist gives you a topical fluoride, it's the same thing except that the substance that's used by the dentist is acidic. So it kind of, does a superficial softening of the enamel, so the fluoride is incorporated on the surface layers of the enamel. When you ingest it during the formative years, a time of the tooth, the fluoride is incorporated into the enamel and into the structures of the tooth, so it strengthens it. And the important thing in maximizing the benefits of fluoride is that you have to have a continuous exposure to fluoride. So a one-shot deal does not work in the same way as a continuous exposure to fluoride. So when you ingest it, you get a little bit of fluoride in your saliva as well. So it does what the dentist fluoride does and the toothpaste does on an ongoing basis.
I gotta ask you, why did your position change?
I wrote a chapter in my book, How to Save Your Teeth. It's a book I wrote on preventive dentistry. And I sent it off to a friend of mine. He's passed away now, but is a good friend and physician. And I sent him this book and my chapter draft, and I said, say, Roy, I'd like you to look at this and let me know what you think. He wrote back in a nice red pen. He says, I think you need to rethink your position. Go read this book. And he sent me off to read another book, which is Fluoride, the Aging Factor, by a guy named Yamianis. And I discovered that Dr. Yamianis knew a whole lot more about fluoride than I did. And so I began to research it, and I figured out that I was real good at, I always got A's in school. I'm not stupid. I was real good at memorizing what the guy in the white coat told us. Yeah. And so I'd written a chapter about what the guy in the white coat had told us, and it was total malarkey. not even close to what he was saying. I got it right, but it wasn't truthful. It wasn't factual. It wasn't accurate. And so I went back and rewrote the chapter and changed my position.
And how do you feel about the city of Waterloo last year taking the fluoride out of their water system?
Well, that was a political decision, and it's, that's the way the decision is made in Ontario. It is made at the local level, and people are allowed to voice their opinion on the issue, and that was the results of the plebiscite that they had, and so, politicians are bound to abide by the wishes of the public.
Yes, good point. Do you think that something like that could happen in Toronto?
Well, it is, the right of the councillors and of the public, and, if there is enough evidence to say it needs to be reviewed, then, we will go and people have the right to do so. We will not in any way deny people their right of expressing their opinion on this issue.
Have you seen any progress made of actually just getting it out of the water supply?
The more successful citizens are in getting it out of the water supply, the more money they pour into PR, putting it in somebody else's water. They've got literally hundreds of thousands of tons of the stuff to get rid of. If you don't let them put it in the water, it starts piling up at the phosphate-fertilizer plant. And so when it piles up, that costs lots of money. So then they start paying lobbyists to go around and tell everybody it's good for their kids.
Right now we are on our way to Waterloo, where we are meeting with Denise McGoldrick. She will be talking about why they took fluoride out of the water treatment process.
So it was the citizens that brought the issue forward to City of Waterloo. City of Waterloo acted as an intermediary, I would say, between the citizens and the region to bring forward the change.
Did the citizens have a lot of concern about the water being fluoridated?
Yes, there was certainly a group of citizens that came forward with concerns, in fact, multiple times before council, requesting council to advocate to have fluoride removed from the drinking water. The results were very close, within about 200 votes, and the majority was to vote against the addition of fluoride. So,
What were the public's health concerns on the issue with water fluoridation?
a lot of uncertainty around the health effects of fluoride. So there was numerous studies being cited, either raising doubt with regards to the efficacy of fluoride in the prevention of dental caries, and or the link of fluoride to things like fluorosis, fluoride allergies, bone cancers, those types of things.
We asked Denise for the location of the well sites in Waterloo. She gladly told us of a historical site that was still in use today, and conveniently enough, was located across the street from the Waterloo Health Board's offices.
Regina and William.
Okay.
And then right in this block here is the well house. Right. And this building right here, actually all of this is the Region of Waterloo Public Health.
After seeing the well location in Waterloo, which does not fluoridate, we decided to travel to Toronto to see if we could show you the process of water fluoridation at the R.C. Harris Water Treatment Facility. Just inside of these walls, Toronto's water is cleaned and then fluoridated, which Dr. Kennedy says is an unsafe practice. Dr. Hardy Lineback, a Canadian vocal critic against water fluoridation, sent an open letter to the world, saying, "Since April 1999, I have publicly decried the addition of fluoride, especially hydrofluorosilicic acid, to drinking water for the purpose of preventing tooth decay." After sending an email to Dr. Hardy Lineback requesting an interview, he sent in this email saying, "My public stand on fluoridation has basically cut my career short, and I'm still at risk of losing my license." Has your position change put you at risk of losing your license?
Well, I don't think so. I periodically go give the dental board a hard time about their failure to act responsibly. I'm a pretty good talker, and by the time I get done with them, they change their mind or basically say thank you for sharing. But if they ever attack me, they would be hard-pressed to prove that I've said anything that is not factually correct.